welcome to my podcast, Stories by Vera V. Today I'm joined by a very special guest by the name of
and Arellano.
And we'll be discussing what's it like being a professional circus performer. Interesting stories by interesting people. Stories by Vera V. So to start off, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Anna Arellano. I am 19 years old. I'm a college student and part-time circus performer whenever I can. I've been doing circus for the last 7 years after I joined a professional youth circus when I was 12. And I've traveled all over the world, trained a lot in contortion, hand balancing, aerial arts. I've done a lot in my years of circus, and it's been a really cool experience.
That sounds crazy because you're so young. We're practically the same age, and you've traveled all over the world performing. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it was definitely like a really cool way to grow up because I was going to countries like Dubai when I was in middle school and performed in Montreal when I was 12. Like these random things.
Instead of math class, just going to Dubai, whatever.
Math class. So it was really cool to have that experience when I was in middle school and high school. So it really it kind of like made me grow up faster in a way because I was growing up in circus rather than like in normal school doing just school and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for the circus, what's the atmosphere there like?
Honestly, the atmosphere that we had was really just a loving community because we were all girls from I guess anywhere from 5 years old to 18. And the bulk of us were in middle school and high school. So we were all just best friends and we really got along with one another. So I still have lifelong friends from that circus.
Do you?
And yeah, we still hang out. We still talk. Mm-hmm. So since we were practicing every week together, we were rehearsing together, we were performing together, we really got a chance to bond. And it's the type of friendships that I know aren't going to drift away because we went through so much together and did a lot together. So I think it was a really loving community. Yeah.
Do you guys still have a circus group chat or something? Just hey guys.
Oh. We always talk about circus because we have so many stories from what went on. Uh-huh. But yeah. Yeah, it never goes away.
Just sending circus memes.
Yeah, memes. I actually have circus memes.
Do you actually?
Actually, yeah, there's circus meme pages. You'd be surprised.
Are there?
Yeah, I will send some to you. My favorite
I've
one.
never heard of that.
I'll definitely send some. They're funny. Yeah.
That sounds so niche, but I'm glad there's something out there.
Yeah, and it's so funny. It's a small community, but we can all be connected somehow. I know someone that so and so knows. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's such a small community that we all end up kind of knowing each other, which is really cool. Especially on Instagram, you can connect with people super easy on there. So,
do you follow a lot of other circus performers?
Yeah, the bulk of people I follow, they're all in circus.
That's cool. Your feed must be so just fun to scroll through.
Yeah, it's just acrobats and people doing crazy flips and, performers that I look up to as well. It's a really good place to get inspiration.
On the topic of inspiration, every time you pop up on my feed with one of your reels, I get so inspired because the way that you can just bend, it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much.
Actually,
thank you.
I just because I saw your highlights, I think today about what's it called? Well, you do push-ups, but then your feet are hooked up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I think I audibly gasped at that because I was how is this humanly possible?
I think that's the trick where I just look kind of insane. Even when I look at myself, I'm just I don't know how I can do that. Yeah.
No, but it's really cool. And congratulations on, because now you have 122,000 people following you.
Yeah, that's so insane. I posted a video that just blew up on Instagram Reels, and it's over 1 million likes, and the growth from that video is just insane. So it's really cool to reach such a high number because I've been posting since I was 14, just me kicking over in handstands.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you have all the progress just documented.
Literally. So if I'm ever like, I don't know, I just want to see how far I've gone, I can just scroll on my feed and you can see like as the years go on, I get a little better and better. So
That's so cool.
It's really cool.
Inspiring people all over the world to stretch and maybe join the circus as well.
Yes.
And so on the topic of Instagram and social media, what made you want to start sharing originally?
So originally it was one of my coaches suggesting that we start posting on Instagram because it kind of gets your name out there. You know, you can even book shows from it if, you know, the right people see your posts, you know?
Oh.
So it was really just that. And her wanting us to kind of share what we do online because, I mean, we do cool things. And if you get your name out there, maybe it could lead to something.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you never know where a video of yours can go once you post it online. Either it can get into the right hands, you can get more exposure, you can like do things like brand deals or things like that, you know? And I feel like social media can be a career. So I think she wanted us to kind of jumpstart on that a little bit. And it was just fun for me to like shoot a video and then post it and see how my handstands get better over time. That's kind of how I did it. It's like a training log for me. So I saw it as a really fun thing to do as a kid. If that makes sense.
No,
you know?
no, for sure. I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I remember when I was 14, I would, like practice a certain skill till I got it perfect. So then I could post it on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like that was kind of how I dictated, okay, I'm going to do this skill and it needs to be perfect. And I'm not going to stop doing it till it's perfect. So I'd just be doing handstands in like my living room for hours, trying to get the right like skill to look the best it can be. So that's how I utilized Instagram growing up. And still today, like if I'm going to shoot a video, it needs to be, you know, the best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm almost over analyzing my skills, but I think it kind of motivates me to, you know, do something to the best of its ability in a sense.
No, for sure. I think I saw a video maybe yesterday. It was like a person asking for tips on how to be productive. And someone in the comments went, just pretend like you're filming a YouTube video. And that actually helps. You have like some sort of
it does
pressure on you, I guess, to just do the best you can. But it works.
Right. It works. And like knowing that you can actually like make that pressure real life by, you know, actually posting it kind of makes it like 10 times more, I don't know, like almost intimidating to do. So you really want to do it right. And it helps over time, you know?
I think it kind of, what I found is that it holds me accountable for some things. Because if I preach one thing, but then do the other, like that doesn't really click, you know?
Right. And so you almost feel like you have to do, you know, practice what you preach in a sense,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah. So I find that I kind of like adapted with social media as it grew because I understood that if you want to grow, you have to post consistently, right? And stuff like that. And as a kid, I just thought the numbers going up was really cool. Yeah, and now it's kind of like actually growing more. So it kind of like blossomed into something like special to me. And it's like, it's cool because my friends and family all see it. And yeah. So it's also a good way to connect with like past people I've met through Circus and old friends just popping up on my feed.
Oh my
makes me really happy. Yeah.
That's happened before?
Yeah. And just like, maybe I'm in the same city as one of my old friends or coaches, and then we can meet and talk and we'll have a good time. Stuff
That's
like
so
that. Wholesome. Thank you.
I feel like that should be a whole advertisement for like Instagram. Just connecting with my old coaches and old friends. That's so cute.
I feel like that would work too. That would be cute. Yeah.
We should script it, write it out, pitch it.
Honestly, it could go somewhere, I think.
Yes, exactly. You never know. So. But with Circus, you mentioned that you joined when you were 12 years old?
Yeah. So I joined when I was 12, kind of by coincidence. I don't have any family with a background in like acrobatics or circus. As a kid, I did dance. And then I actually went to a birthday party at an aerial art studio when I was 9 years old. and aerial arts, it's like silks and trapeze,
Mm-hmm.
and a more like recreational studio. So that was when I was 9 years old to 12 years old. And actually, girls from that studio went to join an audition for the circus I eventually joined.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of knew people that went off to it. And as time went on, like when I was 10, I was like, I really want to get better at this and try my best at these skills. And so I started teaching myself contortion and like, flexible skills like that.
Mm.
And then when I was 12, I kind of like summoned the courage to audition for that company. And it's called Le Petit Cirque. And it's a LA based like youth professional circus company. And so I auditioned when I was just this little 12-year-old. And I was so scared when I showed up to that studio. And my audition just consisted of like me doing almost performances on all the apparatuses I knew. So silks, trapeze, and hoop. And I just like kind of did a performance that was like 2 to 3 minutes long, very nervous. But by the end of it, I did make it on like the team. Mm-hmm. So then that's when I started going to practices every week. And I remember I joined, when I was 12 years old. And then as months went on, I started getting into gigs. And that was really cool, getting to actually like work and put the makeup on, the costumes, the wigs. It kind of just feels like you're becoming a circus performer because you have all of these like, I guess like extravagant pieces on you. And it's really fun. But it definitely helped me like get less shy as a kid, because when you do circus, you need to learn how to be like more confident and more like secure of yourself and learn how to work with others. So it really did help me like become more talkative and become more confident too. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of like you're transforming into a character?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is. And I feel like whenever I put the makeup on and get that costume on, you don't really feel like yourself. And it kind of eases your nerves when you go on stage as well, because you don't feel like who you really are. You feel like, this performer with this makeup on. And it's almost like your disguise, if that makes sense.
No.
And it really kind of gets you in the zone to perform too. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a sense, you're also an actor.
Yeah. I never looked at it that way, but yes, because when you're on stage, you do have to have like these big facial expressions, and we even do have characters that we perform, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So everyone has like a specific like facial expression or movement that they do, and that you kind of do throughout a show to get audience members to remember who you are and who you are on stage, because you can't really just act how you normally do on stage because you're performing. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that was the toughest part of circus for me, was the whole acting part on stage and learning how to portray who I am without saying anything to the audience. Because it's hard to tell someone who you are without using your voice. Just using your body language and your facial expressions and stuff.
I'm always really amazed at how people can do that. Because when I used to go to the Cirque du Soleil shows, because it's a whole character, but they don't say a thing, but you still know exactly who they are. It's so just fascinating.
Yeah, and it's just like they're so bubbly and energetic and charismatic. But yeah, they don't say a word. So that's something that I'm still working on, because obviously there's like performers and clowns out there who can like tell you exactly what they're doing and what they're saying without saying anything. And that's still something that like blows me away anytime I see a show.
Mm-hmm. And when you were first going into circus, did you know that was a large component of it?
I knew that like clowning was a thing, and that, you had to kind of perform in some way, shape or form aside from your skills, but I just didn't know how hard it was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how hard it was, and I didn't like understand how to do it myself. So that kind of made it like a scarier aspect to me. But practicing it again and again, and practicing during shows really helped, because the more you practice, the more better you get. And it really helped me understand how I'm supposed to perform and what stage presence is, and how to like read the room when I'm going out on stage or doing ambiance and things like that.
Reading the room. What is that in regards to
Like,
the context?
I I think it's like so every gig or show isn't really the same. You know, maybe you're hired for, say, a corporate event and you're doing ambiance while the event's happening. And ambiance being you're doing your skills as people walk by, but it's not like a full act. So say if I'm doing contortion and handstand ambiance, I'm say doing handstands and flexible skills, but I'm doing them like slower, and my character isn't necessarily as big because there's a whole event going on around me. But say if I was doing like a more of a show, then I'd be much bigger and like much more theatrical because I have to captivate a room. So it kind of depends what type of gig you're doing and understanding what the type of event is. Because if it's a party, you know, you're going to be more upbeat. But if it's a more serious event, then more, you know, toned down and things like that. Yeah. I guess knowing when you need to make your expressions bigger and when they need to be a little more on the toned down side because of like the event you're working for, you know.
And the ambiance portion, is it choreographed or staged anyway, or is it more improvisation? It's
more like improv, I'd say. Like I have an idea of the skills that I'll do when I'm out there, but we usually do like 15-minute sets. Like we'll do a 15-minute set and then say break for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'll just go out there and just kind of do what I feel like doing, but I know it looks good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I've practiced so many times that I don't want to like repeat the same sequence over and over. So I kind of just, you know, do a skill, see where it takes me and just move really slowly. It isn't as like high pressure as performing an act is, I'd guess. Yeah.
Really? Because I just from the way it sounds, I don't know. I feel like I'd be personally like stressed because then you have to kind of make something up on the spot.
I find ambiance to be like the more calming side of performing, just because it's not like all the eyes are on you. You know, you're kind of just like doing, you know, like moving through the motions of like maybe handstands to a bridge to like splits and maybe back to a handstand. Okay. And I just think practicing for the job really helps. So say if I have an ambiance gig, I'll usually just put on some music and just keep performing, if that makes sense. So just kind of finding sequences that work, and it makes me feel more prepared for when I actually go to work, you know?
Yeah.
So I just kind of practice 4 moments like that. And I've also, you know, been doing circus for so long that I guess gigs like that don't really make me nervous. And since I practice so much, sometimes I don't really get too many nerves for actual shows because I've performed so much. So yeah. And I kind of started feeling the lack of nerves when I was probably like 14, 15, just because I'd gone on stage so many times and I was very secure in my skills and I was very confident. So the nerves kind of started going away in a way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like sometimes they're there for like the bigger shows, but sometimes they're just gone.
Just gone completely?
Yeah, like sometimes when I'm performing, I just feel so like calm because I'm loving what I'm doing. And I know that like I'm in the right place, if that makes sense. Like my mind is kind of just at ease and I'm like really happy with what I'm doing. And I just feel very, I guess, like almost zen because I love performing so much that it doesn't really feel like a job to me. So like when I'm getting ready to go out on stage, I'm just way more excited than anything. I'm just excited to like get out there and do what I do, you know?
That sounds amazing. The stage is really just your home at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like in a lot of ways. Like I remember I did a show in Norway. It was for the Nobel Peace Prize, and it was in a huge arena filled with like 10,000 people. And I was backstage and all my other teammates were like nervous because obviously we're going out there in front of thousands of people there's all these lights, all these cameras, because we're also on TV. And I was just standing there, like really excited to go out there. And I remember we were all like almost really emotional because it was such a big show.
Mm-hmm.
And then the minute like the stage manager called our cue, we like ran on stage and I got in my place and I could just feel like tears forming in my eyes because I was like so happy with where I was. And like that's kind of like the whole energy of how it feels when I perform. But yeah, like tears are forming. And then like the music started and I hear my cue. And then it was almost like I was performing, but I was almost like watching myself perform in a way because my body kind of went on autopilot because I had rehearsed so much in my head and like just rehearsed that I was performing and it almost didn't feel real. So like I was just doing my act and the whole show just made me like really happy. And I remember we had to like kind of run and tumble down this huge runway to get to our second cue where we'd shoot our bows and arrows with our feet because we do foot archery.
Yeah.
And so I like shot my bow and I hit a bullseye and then all these balloons exploded and went up in the air. And then I like looked around me and then all these people start giving us a standing ovation. And it like lifted something in my heart. It was an insane experience just seeing everyone around you like give you a standing ovation on like that scale. And like I was just crying during my bow, but we all had smiles on our faces because we were so happy. But that was just absolutely insane. I like that feeling was the feeling that like proved to me like this is what you want to do. Like you need to find a way to make this work for you after you graduate high school and things like that. It really like showed to me that I really loved what I did and I wanted to continue doing it for as long as I could.
10,000 people giving you a standing ovation.
Yeah, it felt so surreal. So surreal. And I feel like that only bonded everyone even more because we all kind of understand each other in that sense. I think there was about 20 girls on stage and like, I'm still, you know, friendly with all of them. And I'm like best friends with a few of them. So it's like that energy doesn't like, you know, it doesn't leave friendships like that. Yeah.
How many people are on the circus team on that one?
I'd say there was like about 20 to 25 because we're all kind of like growing up through middle and high school as you like join it. So like I was there from like 12 years old to 17 because then COVID happened. So I couldn't really perform. And yeah, I'd say like people come and go, but there's some people that like are, you know, more permanent than others, I guess. And also depends where you live because there's some performers from like Vegas, some from LA. But yeah, like for the most part, there's always around like 20 of us, I'd say, because it kind of fluctuates sometimes.
What's the preparation like for the shows?
So we have our rehearsal times and stuff, but we also are constantly rehearsing our acts, no matter if we have shows or not. So say we get a gig, and we kind of just piece together what acts are going to be in the show. And those acts are like already rehearsed to be in the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's almost like plug and play. So then we'll run through the whole show, like either, you know, cues and actually running through it with rigging and stuff. And then that's how they kind of look really streamlined because since we've already rehearsed these acts again and again, they're kind of ready to be put into a show. So yeah. And some days we like, didn't have as much rehearsal as we like should have had. So I feel like that motivated my team to learn how to adapt to stressful situations, because if we weren't given like ample rehearsal time, we had to kind of make that up with just learning how to be adaptable and working with each other and like trying to put a show together when we didn't really get the rehearsal that we should have gotten, if that makes sense. But on other shows, we were given more rehearsal, so we could streamline the show together more. And we also learned to kind of like be ready for anything when we go on stage. To say like a performer could get injured during a show, or maybe someone gets sick, and you have to either cut acts or add new ones. Like that's actually happened to me a few times, having to like cut acts during a show while the audience is out there. Yeah. And I remember I was 13 at the time, and it was a show in Pennsylvania, and it was in a theater. It was about like an hour long. And one of the performers who was in like most of the acts in the show, which was like not a good coincidence, she started getting sick and she could not go out on stage. So we were all like together backstage trying to figure out what acts to cut and how to tell lighting and sound in the booth, like beyond the seats. So we kind of had to work together and understand how we were going to fix the show while it was happening. So things like that do happen, but they kind of like trigger, I guess, like your fight or flight sense, like, cause you're like under a stressful situation, but you have to figure out how to make it look streamlined. Sorry. And luckily the audience doesn't know what's going on. Like, as long as you look like you know what you're doing on stage, they think that was supposed to happen.
Oh yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So say something's going completely wrong. If you just put on a good face, they have no idea. So yeah, it was also fun to like figure out like what needed to be changed and stuff, because I feel like I work really good under pressure. And so that's something Circus taught me, was you have to learn how to work while you're under a lot of stress and stuff.
Is there a director of the show?
Yeah. So her name's Natalie Gaultier, and she's been running like circuses for years. She used to be like a talent agent, an actor herself, and circus performer. And so now she runs Le Petit Cirque. And yeah, she directs us. She helps us get our acts ready. And yeah, she's really good at like directing people and like leading a room.
And based on what you said about how you had to just cut acts during the show, kind of in the middle of it. So then that means that a lot of the circus performers, they have the whole show in their heads instead of just their single part.
Yeah. So like during a show, a person could have, say, like 5 acts in like a 10-act show. So you're kind of like going on stage, then you get a break, or maybe you have 2 acts in a row. So that's why we had to be like really in shape, because you could be on stage for however long if you have a ton of acts. And that's like kind of the case I ran into. I remember one show I had literally 9 acts, and there was like out of like, it was like, I think 12 to 15 acts total. And I was in more than half of them. And I remember I was just so like out of breath trying to get from one place to the next. So that's why we had to be really, in shape. Our endurance had to be like, we had to be able to perform for however long. And I feel like that's how our cast could be so small, because we don't have that many people each show, So everyone has to do more than one thing. And it got us really in shape.
I bet. Yeah. 9 acts out of 12 or 15. That's a bit.
I remember I was just like dying. I was like, during my breaks, I would just go backstage and lay on the floor. I couldn't like do anything else in between.
I can't imagine. That just sounds very, very exerting.
Yeah, very exerting. And then the next day, you're just so sore out of your mind. You can't do anything.
And for the show schedule, was it every week? Or
so it depended when we got gigs. So like Natalie, she would, get emails or send out emails on shows that we could go and do. And some weeks, like usually in December, because it's the holiday season, I remember I always had shows every weekend. And I was, constantly getting ready for them. And then usually there's like the come down of shows in January, but then in spring they pick up again and there's more events that I'm going out and doing. So like, sometimes I'm performing like every weekend during a month. Other times it's like maybe twice or once. And it kind of just depends what gigs we get. So, and then because of COVID, like obviously there wasn't a lot of shows for a long time, but now I'm finally getting in the groove of performing again, which feels weird, but also really fun because I'm used to not performing for like the past year and a half. So it's really cool to get back into it now. So,
do you have anything coming up, if that's not a secret or anything?
ooh, so I actually do, and it's a really big thing.
Yeah.
I haven't like announced it on social media or anything, but it's one of my first like long shows with a contract in like a different country.
Oh, wow.
So I'm so excited because
Uh-huh.
now I'm working in circus as an adult. I'm no longer like a minor that needs to travel with, a chaperone or with a group of people. I can just go out and perform wherever I want because I'm an adult and I can like go anywhere now.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's a cool experience to have now because I turned, 18 during the pandemic. I graduated during 2020, COVID outbreak and everything.
Yeah.
So I didn't really feel like I was an adult back then, but now that I'm actually working as an adult, it feels totally different. And I feel like I've almost grown up,
Yeah.
So it feels surreal to like work as an adult now because it's almost like, where did all this time go? Because I wasn't working very much for like over a year. But now it feels like things are falling into place that I can go out and perform in different countries and stuff.
Wow. A contract in a different country. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a really cool experience.
I bet. And you said that you graduated in 2020?
Yeah, I graduated in June of 2020. Senior year ended March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my school went, full quarantine. And yeah, then a few months later, I graduated high school and then I turned 18 in May. And so I didn't really feel like I was a high school grad, because we all graduated from like at home watching ourselves on TV.
Yeah, I've heard that it was a virtual graduation.
Yeah. And we had like our drive in graduation, driving around the school with your friends. But I didn't really feel like I was out of high school after that. And I kind of had to shift my plan after high school because my plan was to just pursue circus and do school on the side. But then I kind of had to, pursue school for now and then train circus, but not perform it, because there wasn't any work for me to go out and do.
Yeah.
And that was the case with a lot of other performers, say Cirque du Soleil performers had work one day and then it was gone overnight. So everyone had to adapt to, say, coaching online or virtual shows and things like that. But it just wasn't the same as the world just being totally open.
Absolutely. Have you been at any virtual shows?
I have.
Yeah.
So usually, you can pre-shoot it and then you edit it. And then it's ready to send. But it does feel weird to just like shoot a show and then send it because you're not actually performing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm glad I'm not doing that many virtual shows now. It's more in person. So it feels more normal,
Mm-hmm. That's definitely good because I feel like things are coming back, not to the way that they've been before, because it's like, what is the normal, But it's the new normal
exactly
that's setting in.
It's the new normal. And sometimes it feels weird, but it's also, better than not normal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad everything's getting back to normal because then I can do the things I used to do.
Mm-hmm. And with your school, what major are you pursuing at the moment?
So currently I'm a business major. And since I got this big show coming up, I kind of have to put college on the side for now and, just dive right into circus. But that feels really weird because for the past year, I've been focusing a ton on college. So it feels like I'm jumping between things I need to pursue. Mm-hmm. So now it's kind of scary to go into a circus because I've been so like focused on school. But I know that I do want to jump into circus.
I feel like it's good to have so many things in your life as much as you do, because then you can just kind of transfer from one to the other and then see where it all goes.
Yeah. And I was hoping, whatever I'm studying in college will connect with circus. So that's why I chose to study business because, I can one day operate my own business or manage myself in shows and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm hoping that it all comes together.
Would you ever want to start your own circus company?
I've thought about that a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like one day that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know other people, especially like my own director who manages her own company. It definitely does seem fun, but it also seems very stressful because you have to, constantly work on getting shows that your performers can work in. So it does seem like a fun job though. But I'd feel like I'd more so like to just hop from circus show to show as long as I can to just keep on performing and traveling.
Yeah, because I mean, you can always go behind the scenes later on. Because you said your director, she's been a circus performer herself. So you can always take that step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think she was a performer like, how old? I think she was like in her 20s or 30s. And now she's, kind of taken a step back and gone behind the scenes, like you said. So that's obviously like a cool route to go because you can go full performer and then learn everything about circus. And then now you know how to operate your own, which is really cool. And I actually know performers that are doing that now. And yeah, like it's kind of like a learn as you go kind of process. Because if you're a performer, you learn the ropes and you know how you'd want to operate your own company if it differs from like anyone else's and stuff like that. So yeah, that's like also another route you could take.
That kind of reminds me of directors, like movie directors who are also actors, because then they know both sides of the camera, And I think it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, like they, like you said, both sides of the camera. That's cool.
No,
yeah, because they can direct what they want to see. Both sides of the stage. Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of like I can see myself doing that because I guess from my time in circus, I'd learned how to direct people, whether it be teaching them an act or like taking on like some sort of like choreography job. Because sometimes, say, Natalie, if she wasn't in town, someone else had to run rehearsal. So I was used to doing that sort of thing. And I feel like she gave me a lot of opportunity to learn how to direct people and things like that and like try and produce shows with her. So she did kind of take me under her wing in that aspect, which is really cool because it kind of made me better at performing and working with others. Because I learned how to direct people and, teach people choreography and learn how to work with others. Because in circus, you always have to work with somebody. You're on a team, And I feel like learning how to work with different attitudes and personalities is a really big thing because say you may not get along with everybody, but you have to learn how to work with everyone, Like even in a work environment and like a regular job, you have to learn how to work with everyone there, even if there's like different attitudes or personalities that you could clash with, Yeah. So I think that was a big lesson I learned. But in the end, I just got really used to working with different people and stuff like that.
I feel like those skills that you learned while doing that are so applicable to just the world in general because you always have to work with people. I feel like in any field.
Yeah. So that's how I feel like growing up now because I feel like I'm already prepared for certain things, which is weird because I got it all from circus.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like so bonded with some of the people I met because we all got that same experience, it's really cool.
Growing up in circus though, with school, how did that work? Because did you have to become homeschooled?
So I was thinking about homeschooling, but I ended up never homeschooling. I just went to middle school and high school as normal. But when I was going out on shows, I'd have to apply for independent study.
Okay.
And sometimes I'd be away for like 2 weeks. I remember one time I was just gone for a whole month almost.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had to like get independent study, then work with my, teachers and everything. And I feel like my school, they thought it was cool that I was doing these shows, but they also didn't really consider it a sport at times because I wasn't doing like competitions. But like, obviously when I talk to people about circus, it's like a very hard thing to do. And it is kind of a sport in itself. So that was also a challenge, is convincing my school that it was like applicable to performing in like or that performing was applicable to competitions in sports and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, but circus, honestly, it just,
Yeah.
because it's such a combination of skills, acrobatics and whatnot. There's such a level, I feel like, of athleticism that one needs to acquire and to have in order to be able to execute those routines.
And so, you know, I had to really voice that to my school so they would let me go on all these school trips. But they were understanding in the end, but I definitely think they were glad when I graduated.
Yeah.
Because then they didn't have to deal with all that stuff.
Oh gosh, the paperwork.
I know. Yeah, it was a lot of paperwork, but very worth it.
No, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah. So, and then I could tell all my classmates about what I was doing, and they were all very shocked most of the time.
Well, they were in math class. I was out just performing in Dubai. No big deal.
Yeah, I was away. I remember, like, I think I was in 7th or 8th grade when I did that. And one of my teachers was just so upset that I was going. I still remember like him saying that, because like in circus, it's not like things are just like planned months in advance sometimes. Because with that specific trip, I was told 2 weeks before I was leaving that we actually booked it. So I had to like prepare really quickly, getting my independent study done and telling all my teachers. So that's kind of why school faculty was like always kind of on edge whenever I had these shows, because they could happen like within a week of me needing to leave, you know?
Wow. That's not very long notice.
No, that's not at all. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I put all my teachers through that. But they were accommodating, and, you know, over time, they were interested in what I was doing.
No, but it's good. Keeping them on their tippy toes.
Exactly. It keeps their jobs interesting. So I'm actually, you know, providing a service to them.
Exactly. Always something exciting, something to look forward to.
Exactly. But yeah, it was definitely a cool way to grow up, because that's what I was focusing on as a kid instead of other things. And it feels like I did grow up in circus when I was supposed to be like in school.
No, but it's good taking your own path. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely your own path. It's a really cool experience so far. So yeah.
And since you did decide to stay in school instead of just becoming homeschooled, do you feel like you were able to maintain the sort of social circle outside of circus as well? Or did that kind of just blend?
So I feel like when I was like a freshman and sophomore in high school, I was focusing more on circus rather than like the social aspect of high school. But as I got older to like junior and senior year, I feel like I almost felt like I was missing out on high school because I wasn't as like involved. So then I kind of made a shift to be more involved in high school, and I was glad I found a balance. So I'm very glad I didn't homeschool, because I feel like that would have made me feel like I was missing out on a lot of things. And I'm glad I kind of, you know, did get more involved in high school and like, you know, went out with friends and did normal kid things. Because I feel like as much as, you know, pursuing your passions is important, it's also nice to just feel like you're a normal kid growing up, or a normal teenager even. Like, I feel like finding, like, being social in high school is important, but finding a balance between like the work that you want to do is important too.
That's so wise. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, but definitely like wanting to kind of be like a normal kid sometimes makes you feel 10 times better than if you didn't have that experience, you know? Yeah, like feeling like you're a high school kid when in high school. That's like kind of what I was going for while doing circus when I got older.
I'm glad it worked out. And also in the midst of the pandemic and everything.
Right. Yeah. It didn't seem that, I wasn't hopeful at times, but now we're back.
Okay. Yeah. But also for prom, did you guys have it at all?
Oh, so we didn't for 2020, but then I just went to the school prom the next year.
Okay.
I remember, because I didn't go to my 2019 prom. So it was like, why was it canceled during 2020 almost? But yeah, I just went to the one next year. So I didn't really get one while I was in high school. But that's okay. It's prom.
It worked out. Did you like it?
It worked out. I did. But that prom was also outdoors. It was like an outside prom, wear your masks when you were like in groups of people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like kind of normal. So maybe I can find my way to do another one, but I don't think it's
Just keep going to prom every year.
I know, just find a way until we get a normal one.
Make it happen.
Exactly. We'll make it happen one day.
I have a friend who I think maybe last year, their prom consisted of them like standing in marked circles and they couldn't dance. Like they had to just stand there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't think the one I went to wasn't that bad.
Okay,
We just like, we could like walk around and, talk to people. I think we just had to stay in our groups kind of because they did like contact tracing with wristbands and stuff. But like they weren't like, oh, you have to stand in this bubble of people.
Okay. No, that's good.
That doesn't sound as fun.
No dancing at prom. I just can't imagine because it just sounds so counterintuitive almost.
Yeah. So I didn't do much dancing, but like I talked to people, which is kind of like prom, I guess.
Okay. No, but you got that experience. That's what matters.
I did. I got the experience and now I can move on.
And so now back, because I know you have this big thing coming up that I hope you'll announce soon because I'm actually very excited to hear about it.
I'm excited.
Yeah. But do you have a very specific, I guess, like vision of yourself 5 or 10 years from now? Or is it kind of more about going with the flow?
I think that's the scary thing that I feel like I kind of have to go with the flow. But I guess like 5 years from now, I do see myself graduating from college already, continuing to perform, maybe starting my own like coaching service or company. I feel like that's where I see myself, but I also don't really know at the same time because I have no idea where Circus could take me, if you know what I mean by that.
Because I mean, thinking back to how you started, it was also kind of almost spontaneous in a way,
Exactly. So I feel like if I keep that trend of spontaneous energy or just seeing where I end up, I feel like that's the way to go, if that makes sense.
And with coaching, have you thought about it a lot?
Yeah, I have. I just feel like it's difficult to provide like quality coaching online. But I feel like I want to find a way to make it worthwhile for people because there's plenty of like coaching services online, but I feel like you can only do so much on Zoom when you're trying to teach someone a handstand.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been trying to find a way to make it, worthwhile for people when it is online. But it is something I've thought about a lot. So
I feel like that'd be really cool because you also get, I feel like, a whole new, I guess, perspective on things as a teacher.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's like a boundary that you're working with students, and you have to make that boundary work, But I do love coaching like in person. I've been coaching since I was like 15. So I'm very accustomed to it. Yeah. Just like picking up privates and coaching other teammates and stuff.
Wow.
So it's fun to like coach what you've like done yourself because you've kind of like upped the ranks and now you get to teach people like beginners your skills and stuff. It's fun. It's a fun process.
How'd you get into it originally?
Like coaching?
Yeah.
Well, just I think as I got older, like some of the girls just start to teach classes at our studio. And so I just started teaching some of the more beginner classes that we had. And then I got more involved. And then I started having privates with people because they were interested in learning from me, which was cool. And it's like a humbling thing to be asked of, And yeah, that's how I started coaching privates. And it's fun to like work with people to reach their goals because you kind of get as excited as they get when they reach a skill. And so it's kind of like it's a cool process to go through.
Wow. That sounds very fun, but also, like you said, humbling in a way.
Yeah. So all in all, it's really fun. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it's a very good point to end our podcast today. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fun to talk about, everything circus.
I feel like it's been such an insightful conversation because I really, I've known some things about circus, but I was very unknowledgeable. But right now, I just feel like I don't know, my mind has been expanded.
I'm glad. Yeah. Because I know everyone's circus experiences are different, but, they all kind of come together at some point.